Okay, everyone, look sharp. Come on. Gather around. The show is starting.
Okay, now listen up, everybody, especially you, Prodigy. Take that gum out of your mouth, turn off all your cell phones, and get rid of every noise maker. We do not want you to disturb this ceremony, trust me. A generation happens only once every 20 years, and this celebration has got to be exquisite.
Can somebody help me? It's dark. I can't see a thing.
That's because you're looking down, baby. You have to look up if you want to see these stars. That's where the bear lives, up. Now, when you look up, what do you see?
Oh, yeah, wow. Millions and billions and trillions of stars.
That's right.
Is that all you see?
Nope. There's a gazillion more over there, and over there, and over there.
That's all she sees. Tell me, Sora, what about that great, big, black, beautiful blanket?
Yeah. Why do you think it's just hanging out up there in the background, all silent and alone, and letting the stars outshine it?
Maybe it was born to serve.
Oh, that's okay, baby. We all believed that at one time.
That's right. We've come so comfortable with all of our assumptions about blackness that we can't even imagine the truth.
The truth is that there are probably 10 times more brilliant stars within that blackness than you can see up there than anyone can possibly count.
And that is why we are here, to celebrate this Bea 20th anniversary.
Oh, yeah. The bear said that when we have built up a full generation of achievers, he would come down and show us what the future holds for us.
And that is why we are here. Now, your father, Excellence, has a ceremony to perform to get us started. So I want each one of you to take your places and just watch.
See that bright quasar coming there? That's the president and CEO of Battelle. Battelle is a global science and technology company. They develop technology and manage laboratories for others.
They have the only black engineer of the year in this generation to rise to a higher constellation of the spirit.
He is here to join me in commemorating that passage so we can bring down the Bayer Bear. Everybody ready? Okay, let's welcome the CEO of Battelle, Carl Court.
Stars adrift in an indigo sky like diamonds scattered across velvet can mesmerize even the casual observer. And when a glance becomes a gaze, what were once randomly suspended stars fall into intricate patterns that imply both order and meaning. Yet many stars we see as systematically arranged in constellations linger instead among different distant galaxies. And some beacons that blaze in the night are only ancient embers from celestial fires that long ago flared out. Regardless of their origins in space and time, stars will always ignite our imaginations and illuminate our lives. Now, we may wonder if we are bound with the stars by a common destiny. We may even believe their trajectory influences our fate. But the hegemony of the heavens will more likely be made visible through the luminaries among us who enlighten, enliven, and enrich the lives of those in their orbit. Dr. William R. Wiley, a distinguished Battelle associate and the Black Engineer of the Year in 1994, was one such luminary. And on this 20th anniversary celebration of the Black Engineer Awards, we honor his memory and acknowledge his accomplishments. His star, permanently transfixed in our universe, will forever guide and inspire us.
There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer. If you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away, and then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you'll cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel the hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you.
They were born during some of the hardest times the country has ever known. They were raised in some of the toughest places for a growing star to incubate. Perhaps the extraordinary height of their achievements in the end was predicated on the daunting depth of despair at their beginning. This could explain why those whom we've paused to honor in memory tonight were so phenomenally accomplished during their lifetimes. In solemn commemoration, then, we invoke their names once again in hopes that we may feel their full influence in the afterglow, as we so forcefully felt when they were orbited among us. They flew high, and their flight landed them in the Bayer constellation, in a galaxy called excellence. We honor them for a life of courage. We honor them for a heritage of excellence. We honor them for a legacy of fortitude. Now, may this salute lock each of them within a special place in our hearts, and their wisdom within a special place in our memory, forever and forever. and forever.
Lord knows that dreams are hard to follow, so don't let anyone tear them away. Hold on, there will be tomorrow, 'cause in time you'll find a way. When a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. When you feel a hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you.
Oh, look! There it is! Wow! The Big Dipper is becoming a V.
Now there's an E being made out of the other part.
Look out. Here comes the Y, and right behind that tumbles the A. B-E-Y-A. That's it. That's the bear.
He came back! He came back!
Who said it was a he? Could be a she.
It came back! It came back!
And it has all the constellations with it. Well, kids, we told you, if you believe, the bear will always return. Now, what does it mean for the bear to return?
It means it's the 2006 20th anniversary celebration of the Black Engineer of the Year Award. Yeah.
It is the middle of the winter still. Who dares wake me?
It is I, sir, Iris. Everybody is all dressed up for the celebration, like you said, and we have selected the honorees who will be sacrificed tonight.
Not sacrificed, celebrated.
Who will be celebrated here tonight.
Very well, very well. With whom am I speaking? Come into the light where I can see you.
My name is Iris, but they call me Eyes. I'm the one you told to wake you when we had a full generation of achievers to celebrate.
Oh, yes. You are the little child through whose eyes we saw the wonders of the world. Welcome.
And I'm her brother, Prodigy. I'm the vision of all those wonders of the world that people can see.
Prodigy, that daring spark of genius hidden deep inside us owing to our heritage. Welcome, my son.
Take a dollop of luck and a pinch of dance, a little touch of grace, and a little romance. I'm known as such from Florida to France. I am Esprit de Chance.
Oh, Chance. The golden fleece, also known as the spirit of infinite possibilities. Good to see you, Chance.
Between the dark and the daylight, when the night is beginning to lower, there comes a pause in the day's occupation, which is known as the choosing hour. Whenever an achiever yearns for more, I am her choice, sir. Hear me roar.
Choice, the prime selection. As solid and worthy a companion to success as ever there was. Welcome.
When they call me broad, I don't shudder, for I help them extend beyond even the most stubborn obstruction, creating breakthroughs well past the limits of the impossible. I, sir, am stretch. I stop only after the breakthrough.
Oh, the invincible force of flexibility. Welcome, Stretch. Many a striving pilgrim over these 20 years have known you well. And yes, you make success wide, broad, and deep. Pleased to have you. Oh, look, that pulsating little light can only be sore. the shy little sprite with monumental capacity to lift. Well, if she won't make herself known, I will just have to tell her secret.
No, Sir Bear, don't reveal my secret, you see. If my deep secrets the achievers had known, then far too few would have ever flown beyond the grasp of their entangling limits. And addicted to failure, they've sealed the innings. I am the spirit beyond the breakthrough door. When they exhaust their stretching, I help them soar.
Welcome, Soar. Oh, pound for pound, you have the greatest lift capacity in the universe. It is you who hold up all of these huge stars and galaxies. But to elevate strivers beyond their own limitations is a monumental feat indeed. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, sir.
And there are your parents, my friends, who are well known at Bayer, achievement and excellence. Welcome, my friends. Now, the two of you are the old ones, which will...
Excuse me, did you say golden ritual? That would be my preference. My husband, Excellence, and I are here to help our children find their place in the Bayer constellation. I think that when they hear the stories of the coming stars, they will know their place in the lair of the Bayer Bear.
Thank you, my friend. You are welcome here. Your children are the means to success, but the two of you are the measures of success. You achievement are the account to which they must forever add in order to escape the grasping clutches of despair. And excellence.
I know, sir. They say it is lonely at the top, but they who say so have never been in my spot. I am the game who must ever be hunted, but can never be caught. I kindle their fire, I prime their pump. I'm allure and desire, then upward I jump. Always within reach, but never in their grasp. I am excellence, the high royal imperative to achievement at your service.
Oh, yes. Thank you for your eternal allure, Excellence. You and achievement were made for each other. Now, I'm prepared to come down, but there is a sponsor in my parking lot. What does that mean?
It means that we have a knight in shining armor who believes in our cause and is willing to lend their good name as our champion. In short, to see us succeed, they will go, "Wah!"
It means they are the wind beneath our wings.
A sponsor stretches our bridge over troubled waters.
They stick with you, baby, because you're the ones they came in with.
It means we appreciate their commitment, and we all wish to say, oh, thank you, Daimler Chrysler, for your sponsorship here. Just because you are our champion, we've endured another year to reveal a generation of successful black engineers. Thank you, Daimler Chrysler.
Very well. Achievement, as I descend, I want you to tell the story about the return of the alumni, and I will be watching you and stick with you.
When stars win the Bayer recognition, their light is increased, and they are inducted into the Bayer Alumni Association, where they become a beacon for stars on the rise.
As alumni, their first assignment is to return here every year to mentor another generation of achievers to stardom.
They are called Alumni Stars, and they continue their achieving ways even after their recognition. Here comes two bright stars from the Bayer alumni to bestow such honors on three deserving winners. Can anyone make out who they are?
I can. She is the Director of Supplier Diversity for Integrated Defense Systems in the Boeing Company Constellation. And he is the CEO of Alliance Leadership Team.
But they are here as co-chairs of the Bayer International Alumni Association, and their names are Joan Robinson Berry and Tony Watson.
Years ago, Bayer was formed to increase the exposure of professional black engineers to the world.
The Council of Deans of Engineering at the historically black colleges and universities partnered with major corporate employers and with Career Communications Group to promote and find increasingly more effective ways to attract more young people into the field of engineering.
They understood that in basketball, to attract the young, you simply heighten the visibility of the star players in the public forum, and breaking out the highlight reels told their stories of fear.
In 1986, however, few believed that there were enough black stars in engineering to field a decent basketball team. But history is never made by the non-believers.
So after 8 years of steadily increasing the number of achievers, the fostering organizations developed the BEA Alumni Association.
They wanted a public forum where engineers could continue to model their enthusiasm for science.
So what began as a journey to fill a void has culminated into a thriving organization. And tonight, we begin that initiative of the BEA Alumni Year Award for Outstanding Achievement.
We are delighted to represent the association in recognizing 3 stellar achievers over the past year.
And it is appropriate that to help us recognize these black engineer alumni, we welcome the Chief of Engineers from the United States and the Commander of the United States Army Corps of Engineering.
Lieutenant General Carl Strock.
Thank you. Earning the title of alumnus is a significant achievement. Through hard work and perseverance, alumni have reached their goals, and their experiences can help a new generation who seek inspiration and career guidance. Tonight, I'm honored to help present awards to engineering alumni who are making a significant contribution to the engineering profession. I'm also delighted to present the first Alumni Achievement Award to an important member of the Corps family. This outstanding officer is the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Mississippi Valley Division. His area of responsibility covers 370,000 square miles from the Canadian border to the Gulf of Mexico. In the past 3 years, he has led reconstruction efforts for 2 of the largest and most difficult missions the Corps has faced. In 2003, he was in Iraq, leading the efforts to extinguish oil fires after Operation Iraqi Freedom. And he also led the monumental effort to restore the country's oil system for the people of Iraq. For those outstanding achievements, he was presented with the 2004 Black Engineer Award for Professional Achievement in Government. Last fall, he applied his military and engineering expertise after Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast. He was on the ground immediately and within days was directing a multi-billion-dollar effort in federal emergency management in cooperation with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Thanks to his leadership, people who suffered tremendous loss received much-needed ice, water, temporary roofing, and debris removal, and he oversaw the removal of 238 billion gallons of water that flooded New Orleans, and is now leading the repair and restoration of the city's hurricane protection system. It is my great pleasure to present the 20th anniversary 2006 Black Engineer of the Award Alumni Achievement Award to Brigadier General Robert Creer. Thank you.
That's all right, go ahead.
A second BEA Alumni of the Year Award will be presented by the Vice President and General Manager of the Maritime Systems and Sensors Company of Lockheed Martin. Let's all welcome Mr. David Broadbent.
Good evening. She is a Technical Director of Operations for Littoral Ships and Systems in the Maritime Systems and Sensor Company of Lockheed Martin. She is the dynamic leader of a group of 350 engineers with over $500 million a year in annual sales and technical responsibility for diverse products ranging from missile launching systems to stealthy vessels that protect our ships from attack. In 1993, she was honored with the BEA Award for the most promising engineer. This award recognizes that she has more than exceeded that promise. For her tireless devotion to making the annual BEA conference a phenomenal success, we are proud to present this BEA Award, Alumni Award for sensational achievement to Stephanie Hill.
Achievement Award will be presented by the Corporate Vice President of Northrop Grumman, and here is Mr. James Pitt.
He is the Director of Strike and Weapons Systems Development at Northrop Grumman, where the systems that protect the skies over America are created. Ted mentors young boys as a member of the Black Professional Men of Baltimore, where great professional dreams are created. He leads a program that brings 10 students a year into Northrop Grumman to learn how science and math applies to life, rewarding those who stay with the program annual stipends of $5,000. This is where great scientific minds are created. These creations are in the highest traditions of BEA, and since he has been on the BEA Selection Committee since time immemorial, it is with great gratitude that we present this BEA Alumni Award of Sensational Achievement to Ted Imes.
Now let's put all three of the winners in the center so that we can get a great shot of them framed. Oh, look at that. And thank you.
You've just seen how alumni stars continue to achieve even after their induction. But how are stars inducted into the BEA alumni in the first place? It's time for you to learn that. Observe.
Look, it's the CEO of Career Communications Group, who was also the publisher of that magazine, USBE, and Information Technology.
CCG also co-hosts this conference with the Lockheed Martin constellation, don't they?
That's right. Let's listen as we greet Tyrone Taborn to begin this presentation.
Good evening. You know, time doesn't seem so long when you're standing on the upside looking down. Things seem in retrospect appear so much more manageable than they did when you were getting started, trust me. When we were on the downside of 20 years, it was hard to know what the future would bring. Since our birth in 1986, we have seen many changes for the good. Diversity has become a business imperative. It's times like this, when you're getting your trophy as Super Bowl champs or your Oscar at the Academy Awards, that your elation can make you forget who helped you get there. That is why it's so important to institutionalize recognition to those who helped us get here. So tonight, as an introduction ceremony, let me point out several in the audience whom we have recognized with this alumni honors in years past, and those who keep coming back, showing their support for Bea. He couldn't be with us this evening, but I want to recognize the Chief of Naval Operations, and I want to also recognize a friend who has been here with us so many times before. Bill Swanson, Cheryl, we are truly honored that you are here with us this evening. Bill is the CEO of Raytheon. I'm also honored that the chairman and CEO of Lockheed Martin, Robert J. Stevens, and his wife Michelle are here with us as well. Bob, you and the aerospace industry have just been outstanding. I mentioned Bob because he received his alumni honor along with Bill Swanson, the CEO of Raytheon, last year. And we were thrilled and grateful that they continue to come back. And as Bill said, not break the trend. Tonight, there's another familiar presence here. And that's a person who has continued to support us. The winner of the Diversity Leadership Award for Diversity Best Practices CEO, as I mentioned, Bill Swanson. And now this year, let us support another friend of Bea. Let me ask the Executive Director of Corporate Diversity Office for Daimler Chrysler to join me on this special presentation, Ms. Monica Emerson.
Thank you, Tyrone. I am truly delighted to be here with you on the 20th anniversary of the Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference. When I think about what you've accomplished over the years to help develop that critical pipeline of talent and increase the visibility of the most brilliant ethnic minorities through venues such as Black Engineer of the Year, well, we are truly astounded. Companies like Daimler Chrysler really need organizations like Career Communications Group to promote awareness and to provide access to great technical talent.
You know, that makes me feel, and my whole team feel good to know that our work is appreciated. And we're really glad to have you. Without the sponsorship and commitment of Daimler Chrysler and other corporations, this would not have been possible. And not only have you stuck with us over the years, but in 2002, you brought along then Tom Lasorda, newly appointed as Executive Vice President of Manufacturing. And he has returned every year since, even as he moved up the ranks to Chief Operating Officer and now President and CEO of the Chrysler Group and member of the Board of Management for Daimler Chrysler AG.
Tyrone, I'm glad you mentioned that. From day one, Tom's commitment to diversity and inclusion at Daimler Chrysler has been evident in everything he does. And he continues to be a true champion for diversity throughout our entire global enterprise.
And I can verify that his commitment goes beyond the walls of Daimler Chrysler. and extends eternally to events like Black Engineer of the Year. We at CCG and Bea have come to know him personally, and we know that his support is much more an execution of duty. He is a true champion of equal opportunity for all. The fact that he is here with us this Saturday evening after having just returned from a Board of Management meeting in Germany speaks volumes about his priorities. Further, I can tell you that in the 20 years of Bea's existence, Tom is only the third CEO to be presented the Alumni Association seal. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present this 2006 20th anniversary alumni introduction to Mr. Tom Lasorda.
As a Canadian, I grew up in a hard-working family that put 4 generations of workers into the Chrysler assembly plants in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Many of my relatives, including my father, served as union officials in the Canadian Auto Workers Union. My upbringing with 8 brothers and sisters within a 900-square-foot home certainly taught me about the value of sharing and getting to dinner first. And you can tell it worked. Although our home was small, it was always big enough to welcome our friends, black, white, rich, or poor. These early interactions taught me respect for others and the importance of embracing people of various cultures and backgrounds. I know that the decisions made at the top of an auto company have a huge effect on the lives of many people. This is why I'm dedicated to doing whatever I can to help keep our company strong, providing opportunities for the best technical talent available and assuring a work environment that is inclusive and respectful of each and every employee. A key to our success as a company will be our ability to acquire and retain a diverse workforce that is innovative, passionate, and competitive. This is why the Chrysler Group fully supports the Black Engineer of the Year Awards and the conference, which continuously spotlights the best of the best. I am humbled to accept this induction into the Bea Alumni Association. My thanks to you, Tyrone, and the Career Communications Group. What you have accomplished with this conference is nothing less than spectacular. I am truly honored to be part of this legacy. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's theme is the power inheritance, cultivating heritage and powering legacy. For the past 20 years, a full generation, Bea has focused on translating professional performance into power. This theme stresses the importance of building on the past in order to create a better future. We need to take inspiration from the struggles and sacrifices of those who came before us and use their experiences as the foundation upon which we build our own careers. In doing so, you leave a lasting legacy to the generations who will follow. Daimler Chrysler understands how a company can draw inspiration from its past. In 1998, 2 great companies steeped in tradition, Daimler-Benz AG and Chrysler Corporation, merged. The new company is building on the accomplishments of its predecessors and is creating its own distinctive heritage, rich in teamwork, innovation, and product leadership. On behalf of Daimler Chrysler, I want to congratulate all of the winners tonight, and I wish all of you success in empowering your career and developing your own legacy. Thanks again.
Every year, the engineering deans of historically black colleges and universities select one of the nominees to receive the Dean's Award. This award is given to a person, usually a graduate of an HBCU, whose accomplishments are so bright that they reflect directly upon the mission of the HBCU deans to improve engineering education for everybody. So watch now as the Executive Vice President for Product Development of Daimler Chrysler presents the Dean's Award, Mr. Frank Clegan.
It's my pleasure now to recognize one of Daimler Chrysler's own. He is the Vice President for Chrysler Group's core body, chassis, and interior components, as well as product development process. His responsibilities include leading the focus on developing common processes, quality metrics, shared components, modularity, and resource balancing across all vehicle programs. After receiving a degree in mechanical engineering from North Carolina A&T State University, he began his career at General Motors, and by 1955 had risen to chief engineer. In 2000, he joined Daimler Chrysler as a vehicle development director, where he helped lead the continued success of the award-winning PT Cruiser. Now recently, as chief engineer, he was responsible for leading several vehicle programs, including the design, development, and manufacturing of our mid-size vehicle lineup. More than that, he's what I call an engineer's engineer, the kind of automotive engineer who loves nothing better than getting inside an engine or crawling underneath a car, tearing it apart and putting it back together. His passion for cars and trucks is strong, and not just as his job, but outside of work, where he spends time working on and refurbishing vehicles, some of which he has owned for more than 30 years. Now please join me in recognizing the 20th anniversary, the HBCU Engineering Dean's Council Award recipient, Byron Kearney.
When school integration started in the late 60s, I was selected to be one of the first to go to an all-white school. As an 8th grader, I didn't want to go at first, but with the encouragement of my teachers, I decided to try it. I was placed in advanced math and science classes with some of the brightest students in the county who were college-bound for technical careers, while I had not thought that far ahead. The classes were grueling, but I found myself competing at the top of the class, and I began to realize why I was here. The thing that I had lived, breathed, and loved all of my life, automobiles, was my destiny, and engineering would allow me to pursue this passion even further. I've never changed my mind from that moment, and today I'm grateful for all of the success, especially tonight, that this is made. Thank you very much.
Stay there, please. Would you two stay on stage, please, Mr. Kearney?
That's what we thought.
Yes. Stay right there. We've got a surprise for you.
You know,
Go right ahead.
You know, I attended a breakfast this morning hosted by these same HBCU deans, and those deans gave a bunch of awards. Those stars are here to join the dean's winner for us to acknowledge them too. May we introduce them?
By all means, let's welcome the winners of the 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Dean's Breakfast Awards.
Now, children, remember.
For student leadership, Marquita Adams. Gym student leadership, Norina Dixon. And special recognition, Ms. Sharon Jean-Baptiste, Dr. Paul Judge, Mr. Harry Robinson, Mr. Barry Henderson, Dr. Solomon Asefa, Mr. Tony Smith, Mr. Marcus Ash, Mr. Patrick Gerdes, Ms. Shelley Clark, Mr. Claude Bailey, Mr. Reginald McGregor, Mr. Otis Brooks Jr., Mr. Thomas Irvin Jr. Congratulations to you. Move in, close in, please. Just come closer in. There you go, towards the center. We've got a good group shot here. And one shot. And thank you very much.
The managing of affirmative action?
You're close. It's not for managing affirmative action, but for a lifetime of achievement in affirmative action. But we're in for an added treat. The very first Black Engineer of the Year is the one that's coming to present this special honor.
You mean he's the one who began this generation of achievers that we're concluding this year? Wow.
That's right. He is the president of NACME, which is the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering, and the 1986 Black Engineer of the Year. Please help me welcome Dr. John Slaughter.
IBM is a leader of diversity in the workplace. Since the time they hired their first black employee in 1899, the company has become a diversity model as their philosophy embraces the varied strengths in people, advances employees' careers through all levels of the corporate structure, and uses employee differences to explore new markets worldwide. At the program's heart is a man who developed the current diversity concept that has infused the entire IBM workplace with the benefits on an unprecedented scale. He has been at the forefront of efforts proving the link between diversity and the bottom line. The success at IBM created models for the rest of corporate society. He served on a working group on child care led by Treasury Secretary Robert Rubin, the Advisory Council on Child Care led by New York Governor Mario Cuomo, and the Conference Board's Workforce Diversity Council. He is a member of the board of his alma mater, West Virginia State College. I am pleased to present this award for 20th anniversary, 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Lifetime Achievement in Affirmative Action, to the Vice President for Global Workforce Diversity at IBM, Mr. Ted Childs.
Can't take you all anywhere. Thank you very much. Early in my career at IBM, I went to a recognition event where someone was honored for their career accomplishments. And the man being honored talked about all that he had done, and I thought, this was terrific. He seems like a Superman. Well, nearly 39 years later, I know that he wasn't, and neither am I. Last night, when they honored the 100 best blacks in technology, Rod Atkins, Mark Dean, Al Zoller, 3 of my IBM colleagues were honored. Those bad behaving people you just heard, 300 of my IBM colleagues are here. They're my family. This gentleman standing here is someone that I've been exposed to that's been a big brother and a mentor. I define a mentor as someone who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. One day I sat in John's office and we were talking about a number of issues, and he used a letter to make an analogy. He said, Ted, you know, I can look at a letter and pick out a typo just by looking at the page. And we went on with the meeting, and I'm wondering, why did he use that analogy? And I remembered a letter that I had signed recently that he had gotten. I went back to my office and I asked Adair, you know that letter that I sent that Dr. Slaughter received? She said, yes. I said, pull it. She said, why? I said, I have a very bad feeling. She pulled the letter and she read it. She said, Ted, what's wrong? I said, I don't know, but when I see it, I know I'm going to know. And I looked at the letter and I pointed at something to her. She said, oh, it's a typo. I said, no, you don't understand. The real pain was about an hour ago. I met a fellow about a dozen years ago, he and his wife, Tyrone and Jean Taborn. And we forged a friendship. We've done some wonderful things together. We've been able to think and act strategically and to do so in a way that will, as we in corporate America call it, influence things not today, but for those times that will happen when we're not here. And Tyrone, I would only say to you, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for being a brother. Jean, thank you for being a sister. Because I believe that in the concept of lifetime achievement, those are the kinds of things that you kind of hope will last beyond your time. I would close with a quote for the young people here from George Washington Carver. How far you go in life depends upon your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong, because one day in life you will have been all of these. Thank you very much.
What a pioneer is.
It's like a comet that soars where no one soared before and blazes a trail.
Very good, very good. Well, here to present the Pioneer Award to just such a trailblazer is the president of the Worldwide Technology Business from Booz Allen Hamilton. Please welcome Dennis Doughty.
At MIT, he wrote a master's thesis on ways to create stronger offshore oil platforms that are less vulnerable to oil spill calamities. That led him to Exxon, where he pioneered the development of modern offshore drilling platforms. But 2 years later, graduating with a Harvard MBA, he became a consultant with Booz Allen Hamilton. There, his combined expertise in business systems and technology led to a steady rise to the top. Today, he is one of the leaders of our New York office with a firm of 16,000 employees on 6 continents with annual sales of $3.5 billion. He led the restructuring of the International Telecommunications Union. He's developed the concept, financial plan, and rollout of the MIT Open Courseware project and led the financial analysis of the impact of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on New York City. He also serves on the board of NACME, the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund, the Studio Museum of Harlem, and the Dance Theater of Harlem, which he chairs. It is indeed a pleasure to present this 20th anniversary 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Pioneer Award to my partner, my friend, and Booz Allen Hamilton Senior Vice President, Reggie Van Lee.
Believe it or not, when I was 8 years old, I was a big fan of the television series Star Trek. In one episode, the Enterprise was rescued by the quick thinking of an engineer, a PhD from MIT. Even Mr. Spock was impressed by his brilliance. So I asked my mother, what is MIT? She said it's the best engineering school in the world. And that minute I resolved to go to MIT so I too could perform great deeds. As I grew older, I developed another passion, dance. My mother encouraged me to excel in both and said, never settle for less than you can achieve. She knew that the arts would help in my understanding of the world, but my greatest impact would come from my other passion, the career I found as a child watching science fiction on television. Thank you.
Something tells me that the time has come for us to turn the reins over to Iris and Prodigy.
It is your turn to follow Pegasus through the next constellation of stars. He can help you find the power inheritance.
We'll help as best we can, but this is your show now. Pegasus will guide you if you trust him.
But what can he do for us?
How can he help us find the power inheritance?
Watch this. You'll see.
Laboratory. He's here to present the Most Promising Scientist Award.
Let's welcome him. Welcome Colonel Chuck Wolf.
A critical component of the Air Force weapons program lies in its ability to accurately assess the impact of weapons on the battlefield in real time. There are scores of weapon systems operating on different electronic programs with countless capabilities. Our honoree is responsible for developing data links and technology to assess bomb impact, working across all munition platforms. In the Air Force munitions program, he helped develop field programmable gate arrays and related hardware for fighter aircraft. He published a half-dozen technical papers in 2 years. He is coordinator for the Air Force Bomb Damage Information and Assessment Programs, and he collaborates with the Naval Surface Warfare Center to develop seismic and acoustic sensing systems. I'm sorry. Does some fancy work. He was selected. We can't keep up with our young people. He was selected as one of 6 military and civilian young scientists to participate in the 4th Annual United States, United Kingdom Execs Laboratory Visitation Program, a cooperative venture between the Secretary of Defense and the Ministry of Defense to forge ties between allied research scientists. He was the first black engineer ever selected for this exchange. I am delighted to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for Most Promising Scientist to Robert Riley, Jr.
Thank you. I was raised by the most adoring parents that a kid could want, but I almost drove them crazy. My favorite method was torture by questions. unrehearsed, unrelenting, and unrelenting. So when they sent me off to grandma's in Alabama for the summer, my parents never once cried. I became the mad scientist. My favorite experiment was to take the clear plastic cups from grandma's kitchen and build an ant farm. I loved to watch the ants communicating, working together, trying to figure out where they were as they broke down tasks into manageable units. I didn't know it at the time, but that was my first glimpse of parallel processing across a network system. For this award, I am most grateful to my parents for shipping me off to grandma's to put my head on straight. Thank you.
The most promising engineer is also a Wonder Award. It means that his past is prologue to his future.
Stop showing off. You mean what he did yesterday is a good bet on what he might do tomorrow. That's why we have the Executive Vice President of Lockheed Martin Aeronautics to make the presentation.
You're welcome here, Mr. Ralph Heath.
In 1997, he graduated from college with a master's degree in mechanical engineering. His master's thesis became a standard in the high-speed flow CFD community when he set a data set for validating computational fluid dynamics. Lockheed Martin hired him as an aerodynamics engineer and placed him in their Palmdale Skunk Works. The following year, he moved up to senior aerodynamics engineer, a position in which he dealt with aerodynamics, propulsion, and performance properties across a variety of Lockheed programs. But to him, the development had unnecessary bottlenecks. Over the next 4 years, he led a team of 10 in developing a new rapid conceptual design, RCD, process, which changed the way teams of designers and engineers work in the development of aircraft. His discovery reduced 12-week processes to 5 days, 2-week processes to 4 hours, and 8-hour processes to just 45 minutes. This saved Lockheed millions of dollars in internal development costs and gave them an edge in the competitive high-performance aircraft business. Lockheed presented him with its highest internal awards and elevated him to project manager. What a joy it is to present this 2006 20th anniversary Black Engineer of the Year award for the most promising engineer to Atherton Carty.
I began to appreciate my responsibility to honoring the past and ensuring the future only after I was able to recognize my own potential and the possibilities that my life held. This realization emerged as I became increasingly aware of the diverse origins of the great world achievers, but only as I gained wisdom was I able to personalize these to my own future. Born in a rural farming community, I found few diversity role models to draw from, but over time, I began to accept this as a blessing in disguise, learning that there are many ways that one may choose to deal with a given situation. Although it is not possible to choose your life, you can always choose how you live it. The fact that no one may have blazed a trail for you doesn't mean you're on the wrong path, just on one less traveled. Thank you.
The award for technical sales and marketing recognizes that no matter how good your creations, if nobody knows about them, they won't be bought.
Yeah, marketing is like the evening star. If you want to be seen, you've got to turn on some light, baby. And here comes a real light turner honor.
So to show you just how important this technical sales and marketing award is, here to present it is the president and CEO of Mitratech and the Black Engineer of the Year 2004, Please welcome Dr. Lydia Thomas.
When this next honoree graduated from Georgia Tech, Dell Computers had a customer of Texas Instruments Semiconductors. But growing with that company was not guaranteed. So this new account sales representative for TI soon convinced Dell that their future was linked to TI. He increased the TI sales of digital signal processing and analog business to Dell by more than $40 million over 2 years. In 2001, he became Texas Instruments' worldwide account manager for Dell Computer. That was a difficult year for chip manufacturers, and TI's overall revenues fell 31%. But its IT revenues its IT revenues with Dell increased 11% that year, and the company became TI's largest global account. Since 2003, he has been director of inside sales for Texas Instruments, with a staff of 35 who bring in over $75 million per month. He leads the cross-functional lead-free team, which is converting all of Texas Instruments' semiconductor products to more environmentally friendly metals. This company-wide initiative is in response to a directive of the European Union to remove 6 hazardous materials, including lead, from electrical products by mid-2006. I am delighted to present this 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Award for Technical Sales and Marketing to Eric Williams.
When I was growing up, my father encouraged me to study Black history. As a college professor, the subject was near to his heart. My interest, however, was focused on science and technology, so I didn't spend much time investigating the accomplishments of Black Americans. As I became an adult, however, the many achievements of Black history became much more important to me. During my professional career, I began to identify with successful Black coworkers, and as I ascended the corporate ladder, I took notice of prominent Black people in industry. Then a funny thing happened. Younger Black coworkers began seeking advice from me as I had sought earlier in my career. Finally, I got it, and the weight of my real responsibility became something that I truly felt and could not ignore. Thank you.
The next stars are coming to be honored for their outstanding technical contributions in government.
Look, coming here is one of only a handful of 4-star generals in the United States Army today. He is the commanding general of the Army Materiel Command.
There are 50,000 people assigned to AMC around the world, and another 20,000 deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan.
These are highly technical and engineering organizations, and that's why the right person to honor the 2 people being honored for outstanding technical achievement in government is General Benjamin Griffin.
Good evening. The National Institute of Standards and Technology is the preeminent research facility setting technical standards for everything from flame retardant material in children's wear to weight loads in skyscrapers. A major advance in understanding fires has the province of our next honoree. He is a mechanical engineer in the Building and Fire Research Laboratory of NIST. NIST knew the rate at which fire spread, but needed better information concerning the velocity of the cases moving through an open doorway would support the fire's growth and spread. Our honoree unlocked this information using three-dimensional optical techniques in full-scale fire test. These tests will enable NIST to continue to set new fire standards, which will be implemented in construction codes across the country, providing protection for everyone. To help first responders, he is conducting research to improve the respiratory protection devices used to protect firefighters from airborne threats of chemical droplets and smoke particles. This research will lead to better respiratory protection equipment for all first responders. So it is my pleasure and distinct honor to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for outstanding technical contribution in government to Dr. Rodney Bryant.
The first exam I ever failed was physics. I had just transferred to North Carolina's residential high school for students gifted in science and math. It was a Friday afternoon, our exams were just returned, and I wasn't feeling particularly gifted in anything. As I left the room, my former principal was waiting outside. He was waiting outside the door with a surprise hello. I was feeling low, but happy to see him. He seemed not to notice my sadness as he said, "Rodney, we're proud of you." My resolve heightened at the principal's departure. I would not fail. You see, I was the first student from our rural county selected to attend that school. And this reminded me of the significance of my acceptance. This was an opportunity for myself and for the people who prepared me for it. Since that day, I looked for the motivation in failure. Thank you.
He is a physicist, an aerospace engineer, conducting groundbreaking research at the NASA John Glenn Research Center. He earned his first patent for developing a device to relieve migraine headaches by applying temporal pressure. It's called the Morrison Temporal Device. He helped design a plasma deposition system that puts thick, diamond-like carbon film on silicon wafers to harden sensitive electronic circuits destined for satellites and spacecraft. The film tested successfully aboard the space shuttle. He is a pioneer in the concept of the switched reluctance electric motor, which eliminates the need for conventional ball bearings. He invented the Morrison rotor for magnetically suspended oil-free engines, which achieve simultaneous levitation and rotation of the shaft and may one day be used in aircraft powered by fuel cells. He also holds a patent for developing an application of his rotor called the Morrison motor. This won the engineering Oscar, called the R&D 100 Award for 2004. He is a leading authority in 5-axis magnetic bearings, which will help to develop pollution-free electric aircraft propulsion systems. I am honored and delighted to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for outstanding technical contribution in government to Mr. Carlos Morrison.
My parents were divorced when I was 2. My mom worked overtime to care for us and always said, study hard, do well in school, because the sky is the limit with a good education. She encouraged us to read widely and praised us lavishly for getting good grades. This ignited a ferocious appetite for curiosity. When I was 8, I was fascinated by a library book on the workings of electromagnets. I collected some nails, wire, and cell and decided to build one. My project completed. It didn't look like much, but the effect of my youthful scientific masterpiece on an unsuspecting bottle cap hooked me completely on science. I'm infinitely grateful to my mother for priming my future. Thank you.
There are 2 more awards for outstanding technical contributions in industry. The Vice President of Engineering for Lockheed Martin, IS&S, is here to make one of them. She is Miss Peggy Burns.
The best high-definition digital cameras on the market could not compete with color movie film. So the industry demanded a device that could convert large amounts of electronic signals in a hurry. None existed. Lockheed Martin asked our mountain climbing physicist to develop one. His team developed a digital movie camera with 12 million pixels, producing images that exceed the quality of perfect film. It was a sensational camera with both commercial and military applications. He earned 2 patents for that revolutionary invention, to no one's surprise. You see, he already had 7 patents pending from earlier work at Lockheed Martin in signal processing for microwave communication systems for the military. And now he has jumped right into laser communications, developing links that could be integrated into high-performance jets without interfering with aircraft dynamics. His increased responsibilities at Lockheed Martin forced him to forego training for a Himalayan mountain climbing expedition following a successful summit of an Andean peak at 23,000 feet. That's why I am honored to present the 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for Outstanding Technical Contribution in Industry to our circuit design engineer, Bill Hill.
Thank you. When I was 6, I helped my father rebuild engines in our home garage. By 10, I thought I knew how to modify engines by myself. One evening, I wanted to demonstrate my knowledge to my dad, but I could only get so far. Dad said, "Son, understanding something is just the beginning of mastery. Knowing makes you the master." See, Dad was a master mechanic, and he appreciated the distinction. I wanted to be a mechanic like my dad, but college was in my parents' plans. In college, a physics professor said, "Bill, you understand my materials, but you don't know them. Delve deeper, longer." It was then my dad's lesson really hit home. I'm here because my dad taught me to probe for solutions, not just answers. And I am so grateful that my sisters call me the fulfillment of his legacy. Thank you.
Here is the President of Advanced Systems of the Integrated Defense Systems of the Boeing Company to present the last award for outstanding technical contribution in industry. Let's welcome Mr. George Mullner.
Well, I'm very proud to be here to recognize a member of the Boeing team with this great honor. For 35 years, David Blanding has been one of our leading experts in hydraulic pressure systems for aircraft and space vehicles. Today, he holds one of the highest honors for engineers at Boeing. He is a technical fellow for Boeing's Phantom Works, our premier incubator for advanced innovation and technology. David came to Boeing in 1971 as a development test engineer and quickly assumed responsibility for establishing the qualifications for the hydraulic system for the B-1 bomber. Over the years, he has contributed his talent to several major programs, including the Navstar GPS satellite system, Apache attack helicopters, and the Space Shuttle. And to demonstrate that the work these brilliant minds produce have applications far beyond the immediate projects they work on, his innovative work is the standard in everything from the auto industry to heavy earth-moving equipment. Since no engineering event would be complete without a little bit of technical jargon, he holds the patent for the first fault-tolerant, jam-free, electromechanical actuator for hydraulic systems. A design that is so superior to everything that has come before it that is becoming the industry standard. So please congratulate, for being an industry standard himself, David Blanding.
Nelson Mandela said, as we're liberated from our fears, our presence liberate others automatically. I was the 9th child of a South Carolina sharecropper. My parents dreamed of a better life for 12 children while our teachers prodded us to learn. As I left for college, I believed my success would make a better life for everyone. But what if I failed? The thought of failing, of letting everyone down, gripped me in fear. Then I read the quote from Nelson Mandela that said, learning is the magnitude of fear reflects the magnitude of dreams. Only the drive to succeed conquers the fear of failing. I am honored beyond belief to be here tonight to honor those people who helped me to get to this point. I am also honored to share this moment with my family, friends, alma mater, and management of the Boeing Company. Thank you very much.
Well done, my children. These bright stars have shown us how looking for the wonder in a dream is how a promising career begins.
Now it's time for Chance and Choice to show us what they have done. Are you all ready?
Do you know who I am? Take a dollop of luck and a pinch of death?
Yes.
We heard it before. You should be careful. There are things that you don't know that you still must learn. Yes.
think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? And you sing with all the voices of the mountain. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come rolling all the witches all around you. And for once, you never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or let the eagle tell you where he's been? Need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? You can own the earth, but still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
I get it. Look, there's the constellation tourist, the bull. Oh, I think our stars have arrived.
Good. Let's introduce them. Now, the first is for professional achievement in government. And here comes a government professional achiever of the highest order to present them. He is a 4-star admiral who is director of the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program. I think I want to hear him. Please let us welcome Admiral Kirkland Donald.
Well, good evening. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk and go off script before I get into the formal introduction to say that it is a tremendous honor to be here tonight as a representative of the United States Navy. We're here to celebrate the achievements of many great individuals, but we're also here to celebrate the convergence of two attributes that are so key to the success not only of the United States Navy, but of this nation. Those attributes are the rich diversity of our population and technical expertise. We would not be where we are today without wonderful people in our Navy and the technology that helps us do the job that we need to do. But there's tremendous amounts of work left to be done. It's an honor here to be celebrating people who are doing that work. Let's get on with the rest of the work that needs to be done. And now on to the introduction of this key individual. The Tomahawk cruise missile, many of you have heard of, have seen it on the news. It's a long-range weapon that can be launched from a myriad of naval warships, including destroyers, cruisers, and submarines. This weapon has given the United States unique ability to destroy anti-aircraft weapons and radar systems without putting our pilots at risk. The person in charge of testing the Tomahawk and other vital missile systems in the America's arsenal is our next honoree. She began her career working on river systems with the Army Corps of Engineers, and then joined the Navy's China Lake Weapons Center. She rapidly advanced from staff scientist to supervisory physicist, managing over $30 million in non-destructive testing programs. She represents the United States on International Test and Operations Process Group, which includes members from the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. She chairs the senior steering group for the National Rocket Propulsion Test Association, setting evaluation standards for both the Department of Defense and NASA. This truly is rocket science. I am delighted to present this year's award for professional achievement in government to our rocket scientist, Ms. Betty Moody.
Who taught school and lived next door, that education is the best defense against oppression. So my sister and I attacked learning with a passion. We quizzed each other relentlessly at the bus stop preparing for tests. We practiced foreign languages on each other, one speaking French, the other Spanish. I valued the unknown equations of science and math. She cherished the world of known math and business. My younger sister's high expectations of me inspired me to stretch. I could not fail her, and she soared. Inspired equally by my pride today, we continue to quiz each other along with challenging her twins, passing on the heritage of my great aunt into the next generation. I am grateful to my family for such support. Thank you.
Award for Professional Achievement in Government will be presented by the Dean of Engineering at Morgan State University and the Chairman of the Council of Deans, Dr. Eugene Deloach.
As Director of the Office of Stockpile Assessment and Certification in the National Nuclear Security Administration, he runs a billion-dollar program for departments of energy and defense to maintain safety of the nation's nuclear weapons stockpile. He leads efforts to design upgrades, develop safe tests for various warheads, and discover safe systems for handling, storing, and dismantling these awesome weapons. He manages research and development efforts in structural and thermal engineering, radiation, and three-dimensional simulation models for assessing these weapons. He has spent nearly 30 years in nuclear research, beginning in Los Alamos, where he worked on developing non-destructive techniques for analyzing radioactive materials related to weapons. He then moved to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to develop computer simulations that predict radiation transport from nuclear reactors, and then to the National Institutes of Standards and Technology to examine fires related to nuclear reactors and the deposit of radioactive materials. During this period, he designed a nuclear research reactor for Howard University, where he teaches energy engineering. At the MITRE Corporation, he developed a plan to extend the life of the Strategic Petroleum Patrol. I am pleased to present the 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for Professional Achievement in Government to Dr. Kevin Grinaw. Kevin.
went to elementary school in Europe as the Berlin Wall separated people based on ideas. I was mystified. The military rotated us back to the States where the race wall separated people based on skin color. I was bewildered. Though out of my formative years I had inherited some divide and a deep-seated, passionate yearning to build a bridge between the sides that when I discovered engineering. But this considerable yearning would demand the highest performance in learning, yet I would not be deterred, even when obligatory world-class research facilities would expose my family to limited access to African-American culture. I was not discouraged. You see, I was drawn by a higher calling, to defend against enemies, both foreign and domestic, and to leave a lasting legacy in my wake. I am grateful to all who have fed my dreams, and to you for recognizing their verve. Thank you.
A first award for professional achievement in industry will be presented by the president of Fluor Government Group. I give you a choice executive, Ms. Lisa Glatch.
The era of nuclear proliferation left tons of contaminated waste strewn over many parts of the country. Cleaning it up is exacting, it's costly, and it's exceedingly dangerous, which makes the job priority one. One of the nation's experts in the cleanup of radioactive environments is the Safety and Health Manager with Fluor Fernald, our next honoree. She received a bachelor's degree in nuclear engineering and immediately began work at the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant. There, she was the nuclear criticality safety representative for all fissionable waste. That's one of those jobs where no news is great news. She worked as the lead safety engineer for the Ohio field office at the Department of Energy, where she was responsible for all nuclear waste issues at 5 DOE sites in Ohio and New York. That work led her to develop a DOE technical certification program for over 100 scientists and engineers in the Ohio field office. Moving over to Fluor Fernald was also a move up, as she now oversees more than 1,200 employees working on 4 nuclear projects, accounting for nuclear site remediation funds of over $1 billion. It is my great honor to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for a Professional Achievement in Industry to Talonda Brown.
When I was growing up, people always told me that I had a bright future, but at the time I couldn't visualize it. My parents kept me solving math problems above my grade level and surrounding me with working professionals. They enrolled me in a bevy of math and science clubs, carefully guiding my preparation for college. I was dazzled as this bright future kept illuminating before my very eyes. I began to think of it as a radiant destiny forming for my life. Then I was notified of the award and the theme, the power of inheritance. And it became clear, a radiant destiny means the bigger the gift I received, the bigger the gift I must leave. I am truly grateful to God, my husband, my parents and in-laws, Jamie, Lisa, Karen, and Ron, and my sister Tanya, for helping me realize my radiant destiny. Thank you.
Here comes the Corporate Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Northrop Grumman Corporation to present a second award for Professional Achievement in Industry. Please enjoy this chance encounter with Mr. Wes Bush.
Good evening. Tonight I'm delighted to recognize an extraordinary engineer and a real leader. He has played a pivotal role in the development of complex electronics that have enabled some of the most demanding national security missions. With his many innovations, he has given vital support to the men and women who place themselves in harm's way in service to our nation. This leading technologist is also a real leader. Several years ago, Northrop Grumman's space sector combined all of its electronics capabilities to drive process improvement. This new organization includes some of the nation's leading electrical engineers. Tonight's award winner was selected to lead this team. He quickly convinced them to embrace change, won the buy-in from our customers, and drove the sector's vision of world-class processes to become a reality. While he credits the team for these successes, it was his leadership that made the difference. Today, customers are giving us awards for process management, and tonight's honoree has taken on responsibility for sector-wide process improvement as the Space Technology Vice President for Six Sigma. So now, for his innovation and leadership, I am delighted to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for Professional Achievement in Industry to Northrop Grumman's Ron Smith.
Thank you. The moment I realized I would become an electrical engineer arose from an ordinary event. We had 8 children in the family, so our kitchen badly needed an upgrade. My father was a medic in the Air Force who knew little about construction, but he tackled the job with vigor. When he ran into problems with an electrical outlet, Mom called her brother, an electrician. Suddenly, listening to my mother relaying electrical instructions from my uncle to my father, I thought, I want to do this. I enrolled in college, but felt I had to drop out to support my family when my father died during my first semester. However, my mother, normally a gentle woman, sternly said, "You will not quit. That's not what your father would have wanted." I vowed that I would never let them down, and this award reminds me to keep that promise. Thank you very much.
Entrepreneur means one skilled at creating a business and making it profitable.
Our recognition in that category will be presented by the Vice President for National Sales at Aerotech. Please help me welcome Mr. Joe McAvoy.
In the opening moments of Desert Storm, 8 Apache helicopters launched a barrage of Hellfire missiles to knock out radar defense sites for the Iraqi army. The success of these laser-guided missiles, which later destroyed most of the Iraqi tank force, can be traced to a man who had served as chief engineer of the Hellfire project for the United States Army Missile Command. Pretty cool, huh? He spent 30 years leading weapons research and development projects for the military and could have stayed. Yet in 1988, he left. He ran a funeral home, sold real estate, and operated a television repair business, all successfully until this Howard University electrical engineering graduate became homesick. He then created one of the fastest growing technology companies in the nation, TechMasters, Inc. His brainchild provides full-range support services to the military with a staff of 300 working from 8 field offices around the country. The company tests the Theater High-Altitude Anti-Ballistic Defense System and other similar weapons projects. He also serves on the board of the Tuskegee University School of Engineering and the Greater Alabama Council of Boy Scouts. I am deeply, deeply honored to present this 20th anniversary Black Engineer of the Year Award for Entrepreneur of the Year, Dr. Marvin Carroll.
When I was born, my mother had limited formal education, and I had a horrifying speech impediment. My mom was only 16, but she would remind me often that God is going to let the sun shine in your life one day. Mom made me believe that I could develop normal speech and even go to college. In high school, a teacher introduced me to math and science and suggested that I seek a scholarship to engineering college. Fear crippled me as I wondered about my speech, wondered about my preparation, consequences of failure. And if I really wanted to drive a train, see, that was my impression of an engineer. Then the scholarship came through, and my mother's words pushed me beyond my own expectations and brought me all the way to where I am today. God has let the sun shine in my life. And to my mom, I just didn't know it was going to be this bright. Thank you.
The President's Award is given to someone who is distinguished in multiple categories. This year, the presentation will be made by a retired Navy captain. But get this, he is an astronaut. Please welcome Captain Donnie Cochran.
I was a Blue Angel. If Coca-Cola officials in Atlanta had a real-time read, okay. If Coca-Cola officials in Atlanta wanted a real-time reading of their bottling plant in Beijing, it would only take a second. A desktop computer would print out the plant's current output, its last order of Coke syrup, the transition location, and the status of every bottle that left the plant. General Motors managers in Detroit could just as easily track the supply chain for items used in the manufacture of their vehicles. The same holds true for Exxon, Pepsi, Cox Communication, Toyota, or any other global corporation that customers of this senior vice president of SAP America. His system applications and software products provide the management tools that run many of the Fortune 1000 corporations. He controls more than $400 million in software management contracts for these multinational companies, providing the management systems to maintain their far-flung operation. He began his career in system engineering at IBM, eventually shifting from developing systems to marketing software packages. He joined SAP in 1992 as a global account manager and moved up to his present position last year. It gives me great pleasure to present this 2006 20th Anniversary Black Engineer of the Year President's Award to James Bowler.
While growing up in Detroit, Michigan, I often spent time with my grandfather. It quickly became clear to me that these opportunities were times for us to complete projects where I was the workforce of one. But yet these were special occasions. I would often ask my grandfather, "Granddad, what does it take to be successful?" Or, "Granddad, you think I'll make $1 million someday?" Without fail, my grandfather would reply, regardless of the question. He would say, "Jamesy, it takes a willingness to work hard. It'll take an ability to commit. You'll have to be fearless. And you'll need an unwavering love for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior." I would like to thank the Bay Area organization, its sponsors, for presenting me with this award this evening. My wife and I will hold this in high esteem for a long, long time. If my grandfather were with us today, I believe he would say, "Jamesy, see, I told you so. Job well done."
You know, many people never understood that chance is a necessary step to success. But without choice, you are living at the whimsy of every blowing wind that comes by. You are bound to each other, choice and chance. Thank you.
That was sensational. Now, once a climber has recognized his chances or selected her choices, they still must stretch for every breakthrough and strive to soar above the limits.
This is when your work lifts you, even when you're not able to fly.
You know, after the novice stars learn to make hard choices, they learn that you have to often leave great chances behind.
That's right. I remember when you got caught in the limits and found it hard to get out. You leaned on these effort stars coming up to show you the way.
Yeah, it's easy to get bogged down when you're trying to move up. But a good mentor star can always light the way. The next constellation of stars are sensational achievers.
You would lead them to stretch and stretch and stretch again until they experienced a breakthrough.
Then you showed them how to soar beyond their limits. I am so pleased with the group that has kept us busy for the last generation. So let's meet them to see if they have learned to fly without wings.
To present the first award for career achievement in government, we bring back that marvelous director of the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, Admiral Kirkland Donald.
Well, this award is a special treat for me because the awardee is a friend of mine. I have had the distinct pleasure of knowing this individual since he was a young, pretty junior lieutenant commander, and have had the opportunity to admire him as he has progressed up through the ranks to his current position. The United States Navy is the world's dominant sea power, and no area of operation is more important to our nation's Navy than the world's largest body of water, the Pacific Ocean. The Deputy Chief of Staff for the Pacific Fleet is responsible for the day-to-day operation of 180 warships operating in the Pacific Rim, stretching from the west coast of the United States to the Persian Gulf. The superb job he is doing in this assignment typifies his performance throughout his career, a career that began in 1974 at the United States Naval Academy. Turns out he was one of my plebes. He excelled in command of the USS Honolulu, a Los Angeles-class fast attack submarine, and in command of Submarine Squadron 1, where he was the Commodore of 6 fast attack submarines. He holds a master's degree in national security from the National War College and has served in the office of the Secretary of Defense. Again, having known him for many years, I'm delighted to be able to personally present this award for career achievement in government to my friend, Rear Admiral Cecil Haney.
Mine is a story about family, teamwork, and God. My life began with deeply dedicated parents who provided my sisters and I a wonderful life in a God-loving home, well seasoned with discipline. Education was extremely valued, and I began mine through my family and the committed teachers in my inner city school, where the fire of my motivation was ignited. My teachers edified, guided, and created an environment where it was comfortable to study and learn. Then those at the Naval Academy and postgraduate school built upon their foundation with challenging engineering curriculum, mentors, and role models, including Admiral Rickover and Admiral Donald. They all prepared me to become a member of the dedicated team of sailors who maintain and operate nuclear-powered submarines and ships from complex shipyard industrial environments to stealthy operations in the depths of the sea. The sum of their care and efforts made me who I am today. I'm incredibly blessed and indebted to them all. Thank you.
Second Career Achievement in Government Award will be made by the President of the Lyles Group and the former Commander of the United States Air Force Materiel Command. He is a retired 4-star general. His name is General Lester Lyles.
He just left the role from which he was recommended for this honor as the Assistant Decorator of Operations at the United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Edwards Air Force Base, California. There, he logged more than 4,000 hours in 37 types of military aircraft, testing, amongst other things, a pilot's ability to recover from every conceivable spin. He has tested aircraft ranging from gliders to the mammoth B-52 bomber, and he is the first crew member of a B-52 bomber squadron ever to graduate from both the prestigious Test Pilot School and the Air Force's Weapons School. He is the nation's premier navigator for the B-52, that venerable 8-engine bomber that has been the mainstay of America's heavy air arsenal for 50 years. He led a $250 million upgrade of the navigation and weapons systems of the B-52, an effort that culminated in a series of flight tests lasting up to 19 hours above the North Pole. Recently, he was reassigned to the Persian Gulf to once again take his testing skills from the field of dreams to the field of combat. It gives me great pride to present this award for career achievement in government to a Baltimore native, Lieutenant Colonel Maurice Spencer. Colonel Spencer is still in the Persian Gulf. He's away serving his country in the Middle East. So accepting on his behalf will be his wife and also an Air Force nurse, Connie Spencer.
My husband regrets not being here, but he is playing his part in a global war on terror. He was truly humbled by this honor, as I am honored and proud to accept on his behalf. In keeping with the format, he asked me to present the following story, and I quote, "When I was 6, my father died. Crime consumed our neighborhood and positive role models dwindled. Family troubles mounted, and I ended up in a slow readers class. I watched my mother suffer. She thought she failed her children. Yearning to make my mother proud, I imagined one day that my father had left God as my positive role model, and they both expected much more of me. My view of the world began to change. My dreams soared as my goals became crystal clear. I went from a slow reader to gifted and talented, and was even more inspired as the pride returned to my mother's eyes. I wandered into science, and a mentor gave me focus, which brought me all the way from there to here. I am grateful for the love and support of my mother, my wife, and most of all, to God for helping me cultivate my heritage with power." End quote. Thank you.
It takes a lot of stretching to make it through a complete career. That is why we recognize stars who stick with it, who stay with the course, who toe the line, who...
Stop. Look. Listen. Our next presenter is the Vice President and General Manager of Manufacturing Operations at General Motors. He will present the award for career achievement in industry. I want you to welcome Kent Sears.
Welcome, Mr. Kent.
One of the men responsible for ensuring that the performance of General Motors vehicles remains competitive has been entrusted with managing 6 manufacturing plants, employing more than 6,000 workers, and carrying an operating budget exceeding $900 million. He started with General Motors as an intern in the Delco Air Division while he was an industrial engineering student at the University of Dayton in 1977. He progressed through various stages of manufacturing management until he became the production manager and then the plant manager of one of General Motors' largest facilities, the Tonawanda Engine Plant in Tonawanda, New York. There, he ran one of the largest engine plants in the world, with 3,800 employees and an annual sales of well over 1 million units a year. That led to an overseas assignment as the Director of Manufacturing for the General Motors Opel Vauxhall plant. He returned to the U.S. in 2003 to take control of the General Motors powertrain casting and components operation, and along the way, he also devoted time to more spiritual matters, leading a successful effort to create the Bennett Smith Family Life Center in Buffalo, New York. I am delighted to present this 20th anniversary 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Award for Career Achievement in Industry to my friend Arvin Jones.
My parents told me that being true to the word would be the foundation of my success. A successful life, they taught, requires getting things done with other people. Whether family, business, or play, they knew that people important to me would need to know that I would keep my promises and do what was right. As I grew older, I put my parents' teachings to the test. When difficult decisions were called for, I measured each person by the strength of their integrity. And in the end, I arrived at this observation. Money and position may come and go, but integrity can't be taken away. I am grateful to my parents for that sound lesson, for it brought me here tonight. Thank you.
Now that was great. But now, how is this for a stretch? From 1996 to 2000, he was the CNO.
That means Chief of Naval Operations, the top-ranking person in the Navy.
There he was, responsible for the Navy's delivery over the Dominion, but he's retired. Now he's the CEO over Dominion Delivery. Get it?
Here's what I get. He is here to present a second award for career achievement in government. Welcome, retired Admiral J. Johnson.
Thank you. The military had a problem. Missile guidance systems, which function by reading real-time streaming signals from GPS satellites, were not working properly. Telecommunications companies had a similar problem plaguing cell phone users. The solution to both problems came from one of the world's foremost authorities on signal processing. This theoretical research scientist and electrical engineer specializes in telecommunications problems, developing signal algorithms that eliminate jamming and other interference with continuous transmissions. His expertise in communications was tapped by NASA, which sought to use fiber optics in the space shuttle in place of hardwired communication systems as a way of improving efficiency and reducing weight. He received a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering at Norfolk State University and developed his theories on anti-jamming algorithms as a doctoral student at Purdue. He is currently advancing interference mitigation techniques as a senior analyst at SAIC. In his spare time, he works through his church to deliver gifts to families throughout Northern Virginia during the holiday season and school supplies to local children in need. I am honored to present this award for career achievement in industry to Will Myrick.
When I was in the 8th grade, I enjoyed dismantling my brother's stereo set, but knew I couldn't make destruction a career. One day, a friend let me borrow his soldering iron to build some circuits. Now, I almost burned down the world, but I was so excited that I began to read radio electronics magazines in the library and scour Radio Shack for supplies. I struggled to understand the magazines, but building gadgets gave me a purpose for learning. The math that perplexed me in the magazines soon became a breeze in school. Now I knew what I had to be. By senior year, I had invented a gadget that helped me receive a Deneman Scholarship in math and science. I am grateful to my family, Jim, and NASA Glenn Research Center for supporting my drive to innovate. Once again, thank you, Baya and SAIC, for encouraging and promoting innovation.
Lifetime achievement means that a person has stretched a career over a lifetime and found it rewarding. To present the first award for lifetime achievement, we have the President and Chief Operating Officer of Dimensions International and himself, a Baya Lifetime Achievement Award winner. He's also a retired 4-star general. Please welcome General Johnny Wilson.
Good evening. I have the pleasure and honor of presenting this year's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, a person who has distinguished himself in the academic sector, the military, our federal government, and most importantly, in our community. He earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry and mathematics from South Carolina State University, and over the years has gained a reputation as one of our nation's experts in the chemical biological arena. As a result of his expertise, his advice has been frequently solicited by the National Academy of Sciences, a gentleman who has over the years consistently mentored and supported young people throughout all walks of life. He is intelligent, compassionate, a visionary with an unwavering commitment to enhance the well-being of young people in our community. Today, he serves in a variety of organizations that are committed to making a difference. He clearly leads by example. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I present the 2006 Black Engineer of the Year Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Major General Retired James R. Clue.
When I was growing up, I was exposed to many heroic scientists and mathematicians who encouraged me to go into engineering and mathematics. I was fascinated by medical research at that time. I attended South Carolina State, and at that time it was mandatory that you enroll in ROTC. Imagine my surprise when I realized how well I adapted to military requirements. So when it came time to enter the military as a second lieutenant, my sole purpose was to complete my 2-year obligation and get home. Fate intervened, and it came to be that I was to make a career of the military. My education background matched with what my senior officers exposed me to. I really enjoy what I do, and because of that training, I was able to lead one of the largest chemical, biological, and radiological laboratories in the U.S. Military. I want to thank my lovely wife, Terry, for helping me to be what I am today. And I want to thank all of you for your future support. Thank you.
My Lifetime Achievement Award will be presented by the CEO of Northrop Grumman Corporation. He is Dr. Ronald Sugar.
On paper, the Iraqi army was superior. Its tank force outnumbered American forces and led Saddam Hussein to boast of victory in the mother of all battles. What Saddam did not count on were the Apache attack helicopters, whose advanced detection systems let them cruise out of tank fire range at night, locate Iraqi tanks despite their camouflage, and destroy them with an array of missiles. The success of this aircraft was no surprise to one of the leading designers of fire control radar processors and one of the nation's leading experts on the design of hardware and electronic processing systems. His expertise was behind the development of Northrop Grumman's electronic systems for the attack helicopters, as well as for the F-22 and for the F-16 fighters. He received a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Florida in 1981 and a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University in 1986. From there, he joined Northrop Grumman and has become a primary designer of the firm's ground, airborne, and satellite radar processors, the backbone of the firm's $7 billion electronic systems sector. So I am delighted to present this Lifetime Achievement Award to Mr. Robert Wims.
grandparents were not able to finish their high school educations, which placed limitations on their lives. Driven by hardships, they were determined to make life better for their children. They knew that if ignorance brought limits, education brought opportunities. So they set out to nurture each child with a better education. They developed an attitude to go along with their mantra, better education equals improved life. And in the end, all of their children finished high school. When my parents inherited the same bug, it came down to us as college or bust. And we began planning for life as college graduates. From that point on, not finishing college was not an option. While trying to build better futures for their children, my parents and grandparents found support in the broader community. Now, when I hear the African phrase, "it takes a village," I understand. And it has much meaning for me. And I'm so grateful for my own community. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to present the award for the Black Engineer of the Year is the Chairman, President, and CEO of Lockheed Martin. And to pass the baton from one Black engineer to the other is the President and CEO of Parsons Brinckerhoff Quaid, Mr. William Smith and Mr. Robert J. Stevens.
Last month, when I think about critical factors, three things come to mind. The first one is mentors or mentoring. Throughout my career, I've had people to whom I could go and ask questions, sometimes sensitive questions, and whose counsel I trusted. And so being able to call upon them contributed significantly to the things that I was able to accomplish in my career.
A great engineer is able to share their vision with their team as well as the corporation. They have strong leadership skills that allow them to be the best that they can possibly be.
I would start first with dreams. I think there's no more powerful engine to greatness or success than dreams.
I also believe that the experiences that I've been able to have, the things that I've been granted, as well as my desire for success, have made it possible for me to succeed in all of the endeavors that I've approached thus far.
Exposure. You can be no greater than your exposure. It's hard to do what you haven't seen.
Working hard, but not just working hard, also working smart. And here I mean being willing to put in long hours, but also having the sense to know which things to prioritize and where you want to put your emphasis.
Mentorship. Making sure you leverage everyone within Lockheed Martin. There are over 135,000 employees, and you can learn from anybody at any given time. But one thing you have to make sure that you remember, don't forget the next generation, because they are our future.
And I think that the Black Engineer of the Year Conference is an excellent example of how dreams have come true for many and provides an excellent venue for exposure for young, budding, potential Black Engineers of the Year.
Last month, the spacecraft Stardust completed a 7-year, 3 billion-mile journey to collect samples of the solar system. It left the Earth, circumnavigated the sun 3 times, flew back for an earthly power boost before making a rendezvous with Wilt 2, a comet near Jupiter. There, the future came back to meet the past. This NASA spacecraft, built by Lockheed Martin, set out to collect samples from the comet to see if it is older than our sun. The heritage of the Big Bang that gave us Earth and life met the legacy of space travel that will help us confirm those origins. Like that spacecraft, the Black Engineer of the Year
is a deep probe into the future, validating the significance of our past. With this pageant, we launch our 20th probe into an unknown future, with the fervent hope that it is another multi-billion-mile journey like stardust, collecting samples of brilliance in achievement. In honor of the achievements Linda has made, I am proud to pass the Bayeux baton through her to the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert J. Stevens.
Thank you. Today's Lockheed Martin traces its heritage to 17 aerospace companies that in the decade of the 1980s were known for such legendary products as heavy-lift space launch vehicles and radar-evading stealth fighters. But in a corner of our company, our honoree was focused on designing pioneering and innovative applications that would modernize the mammoth Social Security Administration and improve the reliability of the checks upon which so many of our senior citizens depend. She won that contract. During the 1990s, we began to see a progressive shift throughout our industry as systems and information technology emerged to play an increasingly important role. Our honoree was an early and instrumental leader in leveraging those new capabilities to improve the federal government infrastructure. And as Lockheed and Martin Marietta were beginning to discuss the prospects of a merger, she and a group of colleagues developed a comprehensive business plan that would help wire the federal government with information technology while providing a healthy return for the company. Within a year, this new business was up and running, delivering twice the revenue forecast. Those initial successes ignited the fuse on one of Lockheed Martin's largest and fastest growing business units, which now employs more than 14,000 people. And the challenges have not diminished. Last year, the Federal Aviation Administration presented our industry with a complex and unprecedented new need. Some 600,000 pilots regularly use the National Airspace System. Each files a flight plan, and each requires accurate and updated weather data. Comprehensive situational awareness is absolutely critical, and complete coordination is imperative. In this fully integrated network, each center must provide the full range of services, and for safety, each must serve as a backup for all capabilities in the system. This is no small task. Our honoree's proposal to automate this process was as ingenious as it was capable. The FAA was convinced, and as you might expect, her team won the contract. Even a short list of our honoree's accomplishments is quite impressive. Through her work, she's ensured the protection of benefits to the nation's elderly with Social Security system modernization. She's enhanced law enforcement by modernizing the architecture for the FBI's data center. She's improved the efficiency and accuracy of the Navy's payroll system with advanced automation. And she's increased the capabilities of national defense by developing the infrastructure for modern Pentagon communications. She's even improved our nation's technological future by designing an electronic patent application process that will eliminate mountains of paperwork. With such a rich legacy of achievement, it's natural to speculate about her heritage. So before I present to you the force behind this wonderful string of accomplishments and our 2006 Black Engineer of the Year, let's trace her own inheritance through the tales of the old storyteller.
The name of this story is The Good One, the case of Linda Melinda and the Double Gin Fizz. She was born in the age of rejection, the only girl among 4 boys. So how could she rise to the top with the gracefulness of a swan? Well, in a word, it's the fission. The fission. the ability to bring two sides of the same thing together with such power and force as to lift you above every limitation that you could possibly imagine. Let me show you what I mean. See, she was born in the inner city to a family that believed that if you mix the inner city attitude with the outer city aptitude, you could generate a whole lot of altitude before anybody even knew you were launched. Her inner city was a hard-working, value-laden, possibility-thinking inner city where she lived within walking distance of 4 generations of family. They didn't just live. They were the embodiment of a living with a pedigree that stretched all the way back before the great exodus to migration. The exodus to migration happened when black farmers and sharecroppers in the South were replaced by Jim Crow and the boll weevils. Hordes of them packed up their stacks and migrated west to great Kansas Dust Bowl. Well, among that group were her great-grandparents. They headed away from Virginia in a covered wagon, but where everybody else took off for the Kansas West, they headed for Youngstown. There they stopped, and he built the largest black Baptist church in the town, and she ran the kitchen at the YWCA. Now, the average person would look at that and say that she was descended from a preacher and a cook. But see, she had that fission gift. She knew that in those days, you could only cook what you could grow. And so cooking was creative. And church instilled the spirit to endure. So her creative, inspirational powers inherited by pulling from each of those two things. Now, she was named for her great-grandmother, Minnie Melinda. That was one way her parents had of passing down the power of the generation. But the way heritage works is that you take away anything that might hinder progress before you pass the gift to the next generation. So they took the Minnie off of the name because they didn't want their girl to think small in any way. And they dropped the me from Melinda to be sure that whatever she did in life, it was always focused outward on others and not on me, herself. And it worked too. See, I told you that she had 4 brothers. Well, in a lot of families, that's a problem. See, a girl growing up among boys. But she saw them as carriers of her inheritance. They weren't the competition. They were the means by which the ancestors saw fit to pass on her gift to her. She learned from the older ones and passed it down to the younger. She knew she was going to college when she was in 6th grade because her older brother had her read and highlight his textbooks and summarize the information for him. This is college textbooks. She played all the motorized games her brothers got, and that gave her insight into the world of technology. And she played every sport with them to learn how to negotiate with power against an opposition of mere force. Wow. Let me close with this. You know, in the old days, grown-ups used to analyze children's behavior from afar. They could look at a bunch of kids and tell who was good and who was bad. They would say, oh, that's a bad one right there. Only they say that's a bad one. But when they looked at her ancestors, they said, oh, that's a good one. And so that good one became Gooden, and she has been the keeper of that flame ever since. Now, contrary to what you might think, the double gin fizz is not a drink. I don't know if you know this, but this is the end of the 7th generation after slavery. A generation is every 20 years. In 2005, it was 140 years since the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. Now, folks have been measuring progress by looking at generation achievements for centuries. So she's being judged by the success of Generation AS. That's after slavery. That's after slavery, the 7th generation. In addition, 2006 marked the end of the 1st generation of Bea. So she is measured by the achievements of a double generation. And the way she fissionized that, The power of both is what makes it a double gin fizz. So, when I name this story, The Good One, the case of Linda Melinda and the double gin fizz, I want trying to say that this 20th anniversary, 2006, Black Engineer of the Year is Miss Linda Gooden.
Thank you all for that kind welcome. Bob Stevens, Lockheed Martin has furnished me a great field in which to dream, and I deeply appreciate the warmth of your introduction. Mike Camardo, thank you for your leadership. And to my friend General Page, thank you for being a true leader and role model. I am particularly honored to be recognized among the distinguished honorees who span a complete generation of achievement. There's been a lot of change over the last 20 years. The issues facing African Americans and women in the professional workplace are dramatically different today. On the whole, progress has been made in workforce diversity and development and for promotional opportunities and work-life balance. What we do today will set the stage for the next 20 years, just as those who labored 20 years ago to set the stage for us. Anything is possible. I grew up in the inner city on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio. My mother worked hard to raise 5 children, and my father was a truck driver. I remember vividly my father rising early every morning and driving off to far-flung places to deliver his wares. Sick or well, he rose and went without complaint. Now, there were many children in the neighborhood, and there are many children in the inner cities today whose parents work equally hard, yet their star seems to fall on the wrong side of the success divide. So that's the difference between people like us who are successful and those who lose their grip on progress. I think today's theme holds a clue. The difference lies largely in how we cultivate our heritage, how we describe what we see when we see how we came to be. You see, when I look back on my parents' role in my being here, I see hard work as the ultimate virtue and striving as a divine mandate. The lessons of my father were the doings of his life. He modeled a pristine work ethic for us to follow. My mother articulated the values that our family lived by in the day-to-day conduct of her life. Once, when I was very young, an elementary school teacher with whom I had standing difficulty called me a quarter breed. Now, I didn't know what it was, but I didn't think it was very good. I promptly went home and told Mom, half expecting her to go down and read the riot act to that teacher for saying I would fail because I was colored. Instead, my mother sat me down, looked me in the eye and said, "You will never say or even think that again. Your brain is as good as anyone's, And if you apply yourself, anything is possible. It didn't matter to Mom what the teacher said or meant. What mattered to her was how I internalized it, cultivating heritage. Today, we are living in a period of awesome change. We are at least 30 years into the information age, a period in which more information has been collected than in the previous 5,000 years. This enormous information repository doubles every 5 years. One weekday edition of the New York Times contains more information than the average person in the 1600s was likely to come across in a lifetime. As a leader, I appreciate the importance of education and technology in our lives. I understand the value of mentoring and early educational development on shaping the next generation of leaders. I realize the urgency of the digital divide, and I understand why none of us can afford to leave any child behind. Yet with all of the advancement, it's still the basic human skills that make the difference. In the end, it's all about humanity. People helping people, people enabling people, people caring about people. I am profoundly grateful and honored to accept this award. I am richly blessed to have grown up with love and support of my wonderful family, my mother and brothers who played pivotal roles in my life, and my husband who encourages me every day to be all that I can be. I am privileged to work with enlightened people who get it. Long before the Rainbow Coalition, my mom told us all, you will be somebody. Tyrone, you and Career Communications Group have made me feel like somebody tonight and turned my mother into a prophet. I feel like the beneficiary of the power of inheritance, and I am so grateful that I have a real chance to craft a golden legacy. Thank you.
Have you ever reached the rainbow's end? Did you find your pot of gold? Ever catch a shooting star? And tell me, how high did you soar? Ever felt like you were dreaming just to find that you're awake, and the magic that surrounds you can lift you up and guide you on your way? I can see it in the stars above the sky. Dream 100,000 dreams before I finally realize. You see, I've waited all my life for this moment to arrive, and finally I believe. I said I believe.
As the storyteller pointed out, I am at the end of the 7th generation, and it's only fitting tonight that all of the other former black engineers join me on stage so that we can have a last salute to the first 20 years. Thank you.
Right here.
I just believe the impossible, 'cause I received it in my heart. I've overcome any obstacle, won't let this dream fall apart. You know I strive to be the very best, shine my light for all to see.
Am I hearing sound? Go.
These stars that we have seen tonight
ventured into an abyss with their eyes wide open.
Like prodigy, they looked at the future through the eyes of a child.
They saw every chance as a golden opportunity.
And made every choice as pride.
They stretched every suffering obstacle until an elevating breakthrough.
Till they could soar like a rising phoenix above a dense jungle of limitations.
They amassed, each and every one, a constellation of achievements stacked up and up and up like stair steps.
until at the top they could glimpse just beyond their reach a galactic ocean of excellence.
They believed with every yearning aim, making no excuse for things surprising, that they were, through all those years of pain, born for excellence, always rising.
This is the power inheritance.